And I want to talk about siloed therapies. Siloed therapies are dead. Question mark. um, yeah. So, what am I talking about? Siloed therapies. I'm talking about the unidimensional therapies like physical therapy, massage therapy, chiropractic, osteopathy, let's go counseling, mental health therapies, psychotherapies, the ones that really just stick within the realm of their own domain. Now, that is part of being a siloed therapy. People are trained in the areas that are their expertise. So, physical therapist, because I'll talk to that because I used to be one as of a week ago. I have given up my license, as you may or may not know, and so I'm no longer a physical therapist. I am an applied psychophysiologist and coach, health coach, resilient mindset coach is really where my niche is. And so I want to encourage you, whether you're watching this live or whether you are watching it after the fact, to comment on this. Tell me if I'm right. Tell me if I'm wrong. And I'd love to hear your input. This is going live on YouTube. It's going live on Facebook. It's going live on LinkedIn as well as Instagram. So, siloed therapies, are they dead? Well, I don't think they're dead, but I think they're dying. These type of therapies can be good in the short term. They're good for episodic type concerns. Unfortunately, in some therapies, they're good for sort of lifetime maintenance, or at least that's the thought process. I certainly think that a lot of people spend a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of energy in paying and going to therapies that are unidimensional. So why is this a problem, and what from my perspective is something that we can do better? Again, comment. Tell me if I'm right or wrong from your perspective. So integration is something that I've really been looking at over the last half a decade in terms of bringing the spiritual, psychological, and physical realms together. And I really firmly believe that you cannot have holistic care. You cannot have good quality healthcare if you're not considering at least all three of those. And there are potentially many more aspects that you can add into that. But for physical therapies, as an example, looking at physical therapy as a profession, um, we do consider the holistic aspects. However, in my opinion, based on the education, and I was firmly entrenched in this education and delivering this education for 17 years, it is very much on the physical. Our regulatory bodies encourage physical ailments, encourage us to always consider physical modalities, and is while we talk about psychology and while we talk about overall wellness, I honestly feel like we give it lip service, unfortunately. And that is my viewpoint from the inside, and now from the outside looking in. We don't integrate care. We don't integrate our psychology with our physical and physiology, and that is a travesty to the client, in my opinion. You cannot have good quality care for the whole human if we're talking about only physical or only psychological, and only spiritual. And I think that all of them need to come in. Now, the problem is none of us are trained that way. Physical therapy, occupational therapy might come close. The All the physical and the psychological therapies, they are very unidimensional and they focus on one aspect. I get it. It's hard to do that integration. It's hard to be an expert in all of those things. Well, I think we can do better though. I think we don't have to be necessarily experts on all therapies and all types, but we should be doing more than lip service. So if I am a psychotherapist, and don't get me wrong, like I like all of these professions. It's not that I'm trying to bash the professions. I'm just saying that we need to now do better. We need our understanding of the way the body works and the in the integration of psychology, spirituality and physiology together is such an important aspect of care, like I've said. So can we be experts on everything? No, but can we actually do a better job of integration? I absolutely 100% believe that. And this isn't coming from just, pie in the sky academic ivory tower. I'm no longer in that world. I'm in a practical world where I am dealing with patients day in and day out as well, and clients day in and day out. And I see the power of really assessing and integrating psychology in with the physical and physiological work that I'm doing. The whole profession that I've gotten into, psychophysiology, is really about understanding the impact of psychology on physiology and physiology on psychology. And I'll tell you, there are greater changes, more effective, holistic changes that can happen with this style of therapy and this style of working with clients that you can't do in a single siloed manner. So I was starting to talk about psychotherapy, and don't get me wrong, I do love counseling. I go see a counselor regularly, but there's many. It took me a long time to find a good counselor, to be honest, because they were more of a sounding board than actually giving some realistic things to do. And that's one of the downsides, I think, to a lot of the care that we have, is that there's nothing happening in between sessions. So I think that when you find a good person who gives you good things to do between sessions, homework or exercises or things like that, that can enhance what you're doing. But again, it's often from a purely siloed approach. It's from a purely siloed perspective. So the integration is absolutely crucial from my perspective. Now, how can we do that if we are working within our individual professions? Well, the short answer is you try and push the limits. And the limits are hard to push when you have regulatory bodies that are keeping the public safe. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. We do need those. But I think it's a big challenge to really push that scope of practice into something where we're blending a lot of the psychology and physiology or the physical aspects together. So can we step away from that? Well, this is honestly what I've done and why I've done it, or one of the reasons why I've done it. I think health coaching is on the rise. And the reason for that is being a health coach with training in the areas of the therapies or the siloed areas can be massively beneficial for clients, because you are able to look at the holistic picture and within ethical guidelines be able to say, I can help you on multiple areas, and we can learn and take certifications and advanced training in a lot of these other areas that go beyond the scope of our basic profession. So having someone who's a physical therapist also functioning as a health coach of some sorts is absolutely fantastic. And I would say the same thing on the psychophysiology side, or the psychotherapy side, the counseling side. Counselors that then delve into some of the work that they can do physiologically. Like EMDR is such a fantastic example of a well-known therapy that now the counselors and the psychotherapists are providing physical and physiological change to impact the trauma responses of their clients. The one that I'm getting into and that I've gotten into most recently is brain working recursive therapy, BWRT. And in combination with all of the physiology knowledge and the biofeedback knowledge that I've been gaining, this is such a fantastic way of blending the psychology with actual anatomical and neuroscience and physiological science together for the benefit of the client. But you can't do that in a silo. So having people in the health coaching realm that are getting some of these advanced certifications and practicing in a way that might be different than the session to session to session manner, where you're actually coaching someone through behavior change. You're coaching someone through how to manage when they have concerns that prop up on the psychological side or the physiological side, and you're not stuck by just giving the same things over and over and over again. So, in essence, really, this is what I'm talking about is it's the rise of a new model of care where I think we need to embrace that. There are some really good people out there that are within the professions that are doing this. I'm just going to do a shout out to the Honey Badger Project with Frank Benedetto, a physical therapist from the United States, who is flipping healthcare on its onto its head and back and over again, and looking at how we can provide time and money leveraged programming for our clients for that allow us to open up our scope, to allow us to open up into other possibilities than our basic profession has typically allowed. Again, looking at some of the specialty certifications, I think that from the physical as well as the psychological perspective, the biofeedback is such, when we look at heart rate variability in particular, is such a powerful, scientifically driven methodology that should span the professions. One last point that I want to make is that I had a really good discussion with my counselor a number of months ago, talking about how if we had our way, in 10 years, there would be no such thing as physical therapy and psychotherapy, that they would become one and the same. And that may or may not be true, but I really want the professions to start moving in that direction where the psychological therapies are considering the impact on the body, which they have done already to some extent, just having that come out more and more and more. But really, from the physical therapies perspective, taking the psychological work that you can learn, this advanced certifications, advanced training, and start applying this and actually really measuring psychological responses, stress responses, and having that impact the care that they're delivering. It's not happening now, and it needs to happen. And if I could wave a magic wand, we would be blending these together with some combined training and really helping us to help our clients from a very, very much integrated, holistic manner without just paying it lip service and actually going through it and doing it. All right. I want to hear, do you agree? Do you disagree? Is this something that you are wanting more information on? Is this something that you're willing to go down? Or do you think that I'm wrong and that the way that you're practicing is successful and you want to tell me to screw off? Absolutely. Want to talk about that. You have the right to do that at any point in time. Be the troll. I will interact with that. So all right, on that note,